Nerdcube.
Logus. Deep finesse. Logus. Peace and go on. Get ready for Terra Mystica's Tuesday League.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Week 5 of Season 2 of the Terra Mystica Tuesday League. I'm Lumin, and with me today is Logus. How are you doing, Logus?
I'm doing fine, and I'm sorry, but I'm not the chalk of the community.
I know, this is my 5 minutes after being shocked face. I only found this news out right when we did the pregame talks here. So, Week 5, you played in the first 4 weeks of this season. Can you talk a little bit about the format here?
Yeah, rough competition, right? I like the format because it resembles the tournaments at Snellman, which you are familiar with as well, right? So it's a bit more solid than for things like Fire 2, right? Where you just have one game or two games and you're out. Right? I like this kind of format a bit better. What about you?
I think it's a great competitive format. I would be playing in it if I could guarantee that my Tuesdays are open, but I just can't really do that with how my work goes. But I'm really glad to be able to cast this one. I mean, the lineup in this Premier League is absolutely stacked because you're not in this game, but we still gotta watch Nerdcube, Deep Finesse, Bisagoa, and Zorus play this one out. And like, what more can you ask for watching a Terra Mystica game? So we
Yeah. So we should shortly get into the game.
Great.
So we have Bisegoa, which is basically representing Europe. We're here, right? It's really rough for him, I suppose, playing this late.
Right.
We have our champion, Deep Finesse, and Nerdcube. Everyone knows Nerdcube because of the many arena seasons in which he won. And then Zoras, the owner of this tournament and channel.
Right. And we see in terms of standings, Deep Finesse is 7.5 points above Zorus, which means Zorus can only win 6 points in this game, meaning Deep Finesse has clinched the division. Logus, you're off screen there, but you've got 7.5, barely ahead of Nerdcube here. And Bisago is still looking for the first points in the season. Are you hoping for Nerdcube to get fourth so you can lock in that third place here?
I would like that, but I'm not sure that's even close to reality. I mean, we have discussed this that the timing is really bad for European players, right? It's way too late for them. I think this could be, and there is no easy solution really. I think for a tournament during the week.
Yeah, I think I agree. It's just unfortunate that, it's really cool that all the Terra Mystica talent in the world is spread out widely, but for time zone purposes and coordinating regular games, yeah, it's really tough for someone. Okay, and we have our setup. The setup style was chosen by Deep Finesse, correct?
Yes, it's lakes with the expansion scoring.
Mm-hmm. Lakes with expansion scoring, and this expansion scoring game is Stronghold and Sanctuary. So the factions in this game will want to build both big buildings, connect them, and put them as far apart as possible from each other in order to fight for these 18 points. So that's a lot of requirements, and depending on the factions, we could see some higher variance bids.
Another interesting point is that landscapes are on, which changes the dynamics of the factions a lot, right? And it's very interesting in the setup that we see early Stronghold and Sanctuary, but with this expansion scoring, usually you don't want to build them early because you're giving away your position.
Exactly. And there's a lot of tactical advantage in delaying the decision to build your big building to see, like, can you squeeze an extra 3 points of this final scoring? Can you swing the final scoring by 12 against who your biggest competitor is? And to have the big building events in rounds 2 and 3, when you look at the past tiles, no big building. These players are going to really have to prioritize this, and it's going to be tricky. I'm glad I'm not playing this setup, honestly. This sounds like a nightmare to try to do live.
Yeah, this setup is also a bit of low coinish because you only get the rewards from the priests to the cults,
Right.
and you don't have 6 coins on the past tiles. So they have to manage a bit. There are late trading posts as well, around 5. You don't, unless you're nomads and you open with triple TPs. So there will be some struggle maybe for 5-1 or ways to get some coins, right?
Right, and I think without knowing the factions involved, I would completely agree with you. The factions chosen have taken some pressure off of that. In first seat, we have Alchemist.
Exactly.
Black has fairly decent time on Loon Lakes with landscapes. The possibly best faction or second best faction on Loon Lakes with landscapes, Engineers, is in seat 2. Gray has some really fantastic positions here. And then we have Witches in third. I don't know how much you played with Witches on Loon Lakes, but I certainly tried to avoid them.
Oh, I actually like Witches on Loon Lake, but against Gray, it's a tough choice. Because you usually want a C4 to construct a town over there, and G3 you want H5. You can do a town, a sanctuary town with H6 and I4. So the usual spots for the witch town, the witches will have problems here with a Gray in.
Right. And then last pick, we have Nomads. So one really cool thing about the factions chosen in this game, all 4 of them can end with both big buildings, no problem. And sometimes in these final scoring big building condition games, like sometimes you end up picking a faction which is good except for that condition, and you kind of like sacrifice it. But that sacrifice is not automatic for anyone here.
Right. But positionally speaking, and for economy, engineers usually does not build their big buildings early, right?
Correct.
So they cannot opt to stall the buildings until they get to a better placement for the distance, or they can actually do a sanctuary in round 3. But I don't see that working.
I mean, yeah, because Sanctuary round 3, you don't want to go too many rounds without having that second temple on the board, right? With regards to this color wheel on Lakes, for base map, I think both you and I are familiar in Snellman World. We see this color matchup fairly often, and we know Black is best on base map for this matchup, and Gray and Green hate each other so much. On Lakes, I think Black and Yellow are probably closer. Lakes is pretty nice for Yellow in a lot of ways, and Gray, I think, dominates Green more often than the reverse. That's just my experience. Do you have other thoughts on this, Logus?
Oh, I definitely agree with the Gray dominant Green, but there's an issue here between Nomads and Alchemists, which are some key brown hexes like F6, right? If Alchemist starts F7 and Nomads gets aggressive towards F6, Alchemist could have a hard time connecting.
That's a good point.
There's also some dispute on the B5 hex. Whenever brown speak, sometimes brown starts on B5 to cut off Black from the center and the eastern, right? One of our games, include Deep Finesse, actually started on B4 as Darkness and only play on the west.
Mhm.
when I was Halflings. So there are some fights for some key brown hexes, especially between these two colors, that might end up determining how the matchup goes.
Yep, I think that makes a lot of sense. Um, should we look at the past tiles or talk about how the opening of the auction's going here?
I really like nomads because they already started with a spade, right? So they can really be aggressive towards the key hexes. Nomads
Yep.
will definitely be, if not the most beat faction, the second most beat faction.
Right. I think I agree. Um, Bisagoa jumped to engineers pretty early. I think overall that's safe if you just kind of like it's an auction strategy. I think to just watch what the other players are doing because you know engineers are better than witches. So I don't think it's necessarily wrong to just stay on engineers at 30, watch what the other players do. You mentioned that nomads start with the spade. I think I agree that that's most likely for them. Witches can choose among temp, ship, priest, or worker power, and I think all three of those are going to get taken by someone. I would
Yeah,
expect witches to
I would
take temp
say
ship.
temp ship is the most interesting one because they have some options from E7 to dig F8 and get to H8. G3 they dig H6, get to I4, and C2 go to B3. But C2 is a bit of a trap for witches, right? Because with gray in the
Yes.
map, they're not gonna connect that. It's very hard to connect that.
Right.
So they should be looking towards the other hexes. There's also an interesting option for witches, which is rarely exploited, which is you start a temp ship and you pick a priest, and then you jump to D6, B6, and A9 with the two chipping, right?
Oh,
You
okay.
can
So
actually
it's
do a
like,
semi-dwelling rush.
but you also have to buy a priest and buy the shipping normally. I see.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an interesting plan. Arc across the center in the northeast. I think
I would say
I
it's not
like that.
viable because of gray.
I mean, gray does make it tough, but if you want to keep in mind that by the end of the game you're still planning to try to win big building distance, just to have that arc across a diagonal of the map does seem pretty good to me. So for those who are less familiar with the math on the final scoring, you basically want, in my experience, it's easiest to count how many diagonal slashes you are away from maximum distance. So, for example, if witches go into the very upper right corner, A10, and somehow get on H2 also, H2 is only one like diagonal slash away from the bottom left corner. So if witch is hypothetically connected H2 and A10, that distance would be maximum -1. And that's how I like calculating the distance scorings.
Yeah, I do exactly the same thing whenever I play with expansion.
Right. So I don't know if we want to refer to those as like diagonals or distance slashes or something like that, but um, by the time the end game hits, that's probably a fun thing to refer to. So if witches take temporary shipping, engineers, I would assume take worker power, leaving priests to alchemists.
And alchemists are somewhat happy with the priest, right? A priest to water is already a spade, a
Right.
free spade. It's a delayed because you want to get into the next round, but there could be some funny plans as alchemists here. Maybe they could start actually double temple. If Eric gets alchemist, we could see double temple, right?
I mean, look, Nerdcube's currently got the bid on them. Double Temple's always on option with Nerdcube in. Trading post or temple scoring in round one. Yeah, he's definitely going to consider it, I would say. Alchemist double temple in a decent color wheel for them. I don't see. I mean, I think the biggest reason you would avoid that is because if we look at the scoring on the pass tiles, you're missing Alchemist's two favorite scoring pass tiles, the big building and the ship scoring tile. So I think the extra priest production, like, kind of says you're gonna try to do a cultier alchemist game because the earliness of those priests isn't gonna help you on the tech advances as much. That's what it says to me if you start double temple with alchemists here.
I agree, but also there are good cult rewards, right? Especially for our alchemists, there are
True.
workers in the cults, which are very interesting for them. But The one point against double tempo here is, as I said, there's some pressure in the brown hexes from nomads.
Right.
If Alchemist doesn't run for those hexes, they might lose some key hexes and might not either not connect or don't have a harder time to expand in the next rounds.
Yeah, and I mean, nomads could get really aggressive with their starting placements. Like if they put two of their opening dwellings on like A7 and G6, that's some pretty tight space for alchemists to try to weasel out their way out of. Darklings notably do just fine on this map, just hanging out on the west side. Alchemists, I think, do need a lot more space than that. But that just could be small sample size experience on my end. But I don't know. Darklings feel easier to navigate just in the west compared to alchemists.
I feel like I have had some games with alchemists where they do fine in the west. As long as they get some neighborhood, they do just fine, and they will get that neighborhood with Andy's probably jumping from H5 to G2, then to F3 and D3, right?
Right.
So the main issue is that we have a stronghold sanctuary distance, so you can't just get closer in the west. You need the space to cross the map.
Right.
So we might end up seeing some non-standard initial dwellings here to ensure that you do connect, right? Maybe C5 becomes a higher priority for alchemists this game.
Yeah, I mean, C5 is a very interesting starting hex. One thing I like to look at in terms of the auction is the faction ordering, because with color neighbor situations like green gray, there's a bigger advantage picking ahead of the other one because you get to place your second one afterwards. So if I'm witches, for example, here, putting my second dwelling on maybe B6 feels really risky, because if engineers take B7 as a starting hex for whatever reason, that makes your life a whole heck of a lot harder. So it's
I
something
agree, but there's in the case of this matchup, the gray versus green, there's a lot of pressure for many hexes actually. I think that the safest hex for witches to start in is actually D6. D6 makes Angie's connection a bit tougher, right? And you really don't want to start B6. And also the other thing is when you sit near a gray hex with witches, it kind of forces the engineer's second dwelling to go to that gray so they can actually protect it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bit of a trade-off there. Although you place your two dwellings, like in Catan, you are an experienced Catan player, but the way witches places the two hexes, the two dwellings, will force engineers to consider whether they need to cover those grays.
True. Very true. All right, so we've talked a lot about considerations to make here, but though I don't know if we've actually covered like the end of this track, the end of this scoring track yet. We have temples in 4, trading houses in 5, and dwellings in 6, which means that it's fairly economic. These factions all seem pretty capable of doing that. And then the cult rewards, we talked about how alchemists do well if they want to send a priest for a 3 spot in round 1 or round 2. And then after that, everyone's just getting coins, and then witches have a tiny advantage on the air track, which pops up in rounds 3 and 5. We don't have any super culty factions, so I think it'll be interesting to see how these cults play out by the end, because those might be, I don't know, an efficient way to score if other people are too focused on the other stuff.
From my experience playing with the expansion, you can't just go for a cult game. I got crushed as Swarm is trying to just do a tall cult game. Expansion scoring is just way too much. You can't compensate for that with just cults.
Fair enough. All right, so the auction continues on. Nomads are the low at 14 right now, which is still not picked. I feel like Nomads are probably the best deal in my eyes here, just because of how flexible they are, Witches I still think have a few points to go from everyone. Do you think this is auctioning in the right order?
I think so. I think that Alchemist, I would like to see Aegis and Alchemist a bit lower. Yes, because I think that Aegis might be able to force a connection if they start either F5 or E6. But I think actually Aegis connection is a bit awkward here, right? They should have start C4 to
Right.
grab C3.
C4 is a guarantee, I think.
Yeah,
It's
but
just
what if Nomad starts D4 and D C3? Nomads could crush engineers here.
aren't nomads going to be
Whenever there
busy
is
crushing
actually
alchemists?
maybe that's the thing with also yellow and gray in this matchup. I played this matchup a lot as fakirs, and there's a lot of pressure for some of the red hexes, right?
Yes,
Like the C3 and C7 most commonly. So
absolutely.
what I do like in the track though, for both alchemists and engineers, is the round 5 trading post and followed by dwelling. That's just
Mhm.
perfect for them, right? It's perfect for pretty much everyone, but they have a bit of a stronger economy. We could also see nomads doing fine with that, but usually they want to build their stuff earlier, I would say.
Mhm.
And this also seems like a fine game for nomads to build a stronghold in round 3, right?
Oh
I
yeah,
think
I
they
think
go
I think if I'm
those
playing
three.
nomads, absolutely aiming for round 3 stronghold and round 6 sanctuary.
The,
Um,
the,
and
the thing is, where do they place their stronghold though?
well, that's what
Because
one thing I was just gonna say. One zone of land that I really like for yellow in a vacuum, and I just don't know how often I get to play it, is the B1 through E2 diagonal in the northwest. Uh, it's like 2 digs between the 2 yellow hexes there for 4 yellow hexes. And if nomads end up over there, like maybe they put their third dwelling on E2 and drive northwest. To me, that's a really great potential place for a 4 hex sanctuary town with the sanctuary on B1, expecting alchemists to eventually be on B2. That feels like a decent place to like really put a big building in a corner effectively.
yeah, I like that ban. That stripe is usually very good, very efficient, but it usually also has problems in terms of neighborhood, right?
Sure.
As you said, maybe Alchemist goes B2 and you both can be friends there. Place your big buildings over there, but
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure. I think it's a bit far to see. But I think you do have a point. With expansion scoring, I think this is bound to happen. They will sit there eventually.
Mhm. Right. And if you're in the top left, you also want to aim for the bottom right. And I think both black and yellow can figure out some space in the bottom right to do something. Though
Right, but
maybe not their
both
other big
factions,
building.
yeah, both factions are actually flexible in terms of the diagonals because alchemists can use the other diagonal, right? I
Yeah.
want to A10.
Hmm.
That diagonal is a bit stronger for alchemists, but it's also a bit harder to connect. Usually they would have to start E3 and take E4 to then connect to C5. It's a bit of a rough patch to actually connect, especially because of B7, right? They would have to take either B6 or D7 to reach A10 eventually. So it's
Hmm.
sketchy. I don't think Nomads would ever let them have D7.
I mean, look, I think it's funny. All of our conclusions are, yo, this is sketchy for anyone to try to get across this map. Like we're gonna have some turning points, and I don't want to say it's like random chance is going to determine who's going to end up connecting easily or not, but I don't know how I would be able to like fully strategize and like use good tactics to make it happen.
Uh, Again, we have to discuss key hexes, right? If you want to connect.
Hmm.
Alchemist really needs the West to succeed. They really need those natural hexes, the shipping.
Yep.
So we can look at E3 and E4 is a connection hex for Alchemist, right? They
Yes.
can cross the map from E4 to C5, then they connect both sides. So we
Hmm.
can say that E4, if they secure E4, they already onto a good game in terms of the expansion scoring.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah. Well,
they
they
yeah,
can't
where they
get
go
cut
from
off anywhere.
C5 Yeah. They can also take b5. b5 is the other option to connect both
Right.
sides. The
Mhm.
problem is how to connect to the extreme east. They either need f6 or d7
Or double dig
d6.
or something.
Yeah, but
I think
double digging g6 or triple digging h7 to go from the bottom, right? From
right.
g5 to h7.
If you have G5, exactly. This is just we'll see. I think there's just such a variety of possibilities here. The map is just a whole mess of key hexes. If you point to a random hex, I feel like there's like a 40% chance it counts as a key hex. You know, so
right.
I'm just at the point where I want to watch what these players do.
Yeah, what I do like about Alchemist is that I mentioned several key hexes, right? That means that they have options. Like, that's good. That means that you can just shut down them easily. So that makes me like Alchemist a bit more. I remember Fruity Harris, Chris, actually commenting of his own, and it was a matchup similar to this. And their Nomads actually had a bit of a trouble to connect to the west in this game. Unless they start in f4, I remember in that game they didn't start at f4, and then engineers actually started threatening f4 with a double dig.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
spicy.
Yeah, so you have to be very careful. I think f4 might be a key hex to Nomads, and it's not very clear it's a key hex.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a good point. We do have our game. So, Nerdcube starting on Alchemists at 15 points, Bisagawa on Engineers with 20. Zorus is the one who fell onto the Witches at 30, and then Deep Finesse on Nomads at 12. We see
so
Engineers.
Very standard.
Yeah.
Sorry, please go on.
Yeah, I guess B4 is better than E3. You can probably get to E3 without too much trouble. I don't know. I feel like Nomads still have a really great position in this matchup because once you get that stronghold up in round 3, people probably haven't like fully secured those key hexes yet. You can just identify which faction's doing best and, sandblast it away.
I really like the Nomads play here. I mean, it's a bit. It sounds redundant to have those dwellings, but it could lead to a fast town into some more resources, right? It's not much of a waste because you have a third dwelling to actually start your other towns elsewhere. So this is actually I've seen this more than once in Nomads. Now I'm always curious about whether this isn't too bad, but it actually is needed because now Nomads is threatening C3 and G2 from engineers, right? So
threatening those two for engineers, and then with one shipping is like really getting on that G row to make Alchemist's life potentially difficult for connection.
Yes, that's also true. If they get to G4 and maybe send Storm G5 and take G6, that could be really bad for Alchemists.
Mm-hmm. Alchemists do take E3 also. So they are now telling Nomads you're not getting a single town fast with these two opening placements, and Nomads on D7 I think is pretty standard. That's the third choice here.
Yeah. To probably protect C7 in case engineers actually get if engineers get shipping, which they shouldn't, they could take C7 and then Nomads is not very happy.
Well, Logus, engineers got shipping.
Yeah, this is very bad for Nomads. No, not very bad, but yeah, they will protect the hexes against Nomads. They are doing the correct thing.
Yep, absolutely.
Landscape.
But I think that's the wrong place for the land bridge, right? It's the other one that they want to put the.
Exactly. Oh, okay, yeah, he just misclicked it.
Yeah, and I think leaving C3 gray is okay for one turn. I don't think Nomads want to spend a single dig and 3 workers. That's way too much.
I want to talk a bit about the witches actually starting spots. They get the town in G3 for free, and the D6 is being used to connect elsewhere, right? Probably to B6. But Angie's got to C7 and will probably take B7, so it's a bit more questionable now for witches. Witches will have to rush to that corner if they want to take the corner for the distance.
Right. And I don't know, is this shift of engineers getting temp ship and double dig enough for us to already start considering which faction might want to like punt on one of the end game scoring conditions?
I think we can wait until the on the end of round one, right? There's still a spade action to go. There's still a
Okay.
priest to go, and this, depending on who gets those, the things might change a lot, right? The single spade, I think it's interesting for both alchemists and nomads to take that single spade, which is also right. What are they doing without a spade, or the priest gives them nothing in this round?
The alchemist priest is not doing anything. I don't think. Alchemist could try to advance ship, hope for a leech, and try to take single spade on B5 or F2 for 2 dwellings. Nomad's taken
Yeah,
immediately though for D5.
as they should, right? Deepness will give no chances to these guys. He already won, but no chances even.
Yeah. And D5 is ultra critical. It's one of the few hexes on this map surrounded by 5 others. Um, and yeah, that just automatically makes it a really strong leech position early before anyone else has really upgraded much.
Yeah, I agree that the power he spent for the single spade will all come back in that position.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Who is
Although
taking
witches
Earth
don't,
1? Oh, go ahead.
although witches doesn't really have a lot of stimulus to build to upgrade on D6, right? That volume will be left alone. But who's taking Earth 1? Alchemist should definitely take Earth 1. Right? It's
Mhm.
Alchemist. Maybe they try some different things here, but the thing is, I'm not sure that the other factions need Earth 1 or want Earth 1 early, because in these expansion games, you often see economic favors first, because it's
Yes.
really important to win those expansion scoring. So you really want to do well on them, and Earth 1 kind of goes against that.
Yeah, for sure. And for those watching who don't watch too many games with expansion scoring, you can just like have the like note that in the past we've seen a lot of great games played without Earth 1 in an econ favor early. And as Logus is saying right now, the expansion scoring giving another economic condition for the end of the game makes those econ favors round 1 even more powerful. And Earth 1 is basically an econ favor for alchemists because it gives them 2 coins each dwelling. So that's basically how alchemists still need Earth 1. It's still their econ in some ways. Engineers, I still think are going to take Earth 1. I think their map position, thanks to that temp ship and double dig, is going to be strong enough to avoid Earth 2 for the time being and maybe pick it up later. Witches, I do think, should take an econ favor, so maybe Fire 1 or Air 2 feel most thematically correct here. Nomads taking Fire 1 would feel correct to me.
Right, nomads. Yeah, Fire 1 is very efficient for nomads as well, especially because you have late trading posts, right? And people might be interested in coins exactly because you're not building your trading posts anytime early. There's an interesting question about the engineers. They could go for Earth 2 first. Actually, they're not going to lose too much by going Earth 2 first.
That's fair. We see a
Well,
stronghold opening for witches.
I like that, and I think that's an accurate play because sure you don't score 5 points from the track later, and it's a bit of a committal move because now your stronghold is instead of 3. You need the farthest hex is A10, right? So they are
Yeah.
limited, they are capped, but the stronghold will save their hexes, right? And
Yes.
they will need this against engineers.
Oh yeah. I mean these engineers are going to be real aggressive on those greens if witches don't get out to them early. So yeah, the stronghold is just a necessity in a lot of ways. If I was in Zoras's position, I probably would have gotten greedy and taken an econ favor here, hope to get enough economy to build the stronghold next round and take the flight starting then. But I will defer to your judgment. I think you probably have better judgment than me, especially in live games when it comes to this.
No, actually, I like your judgment. I think it might be a mistake because it's not only 5 points difference. Sure, you're saving your hexes, but are you really in a position where the stronghold is better? Because if you can stall for temp shipping, maybe you pick the priest and stall, maybe you can save b6 anyways, right?
Hmm.
But and you get priests also to send to the coast, which will give great rewards, which is it's an air code track, which
Yeah.
is low. So the stronghold is questionable. The priest might have been better. Actually, the question is why hasn't witches or alchemists picked the priest from the power action yet? Witches, especially now that they already really have strong to populate the map, they should be picking that priest.
Well, Nerdcube took the workers action, and he's playing an alchemist, which is a faction that can technically do double temple. The season standings are over. Like, come on, y'all. Like, we knew it was coming. Nerdcube's going double temple, and that's why he didn't take priest. He's going to be making enough of those himself. He's going to take the workers action here.
Yeah, we called it first here that the double temple was going to happen.
Yeah. Deep Finesse did take Fire 1. Engineers did take Earth 1. And yeah, if I'm Bisagoa here, very happy with how this opening has gone. But yeah, the decision to go Earth 1 before Earth 2, we'll see if it makes a difference in the end. If we see a situation where Bisagoa needs to stall for a pass tile or can't build one last trading post in round 5, like if he's in one of those situations, that's the moment where you say to yourself, oh, I really should have taken Earth 2 first. Because not only are you getting the extra round of income, but you get to use that round of income earlier to snowball. So that's something I find my games really don't encounter that kind of problem when I take a round 1 econ favor, and sometimes do when I take Earth 1 first.
Yeah, I agree. Also, another thing that might be interesting that I considered later was actually not going Earth 2 because there are workers from the coast, etc. But going for Fire 1 as engineers. I have recently seen in some expansion games Fujiwara going for Fire 1 in some of the low coin games. What do you think about Fire 1?
To my gaming sense, it doesn't feel right to like try to enhance one of your faction's best abilities. In the sense that engineers' biggest advantage is like the cheap dwellings, the cheap trading posts, the cheap temple in terms of coins, uh, and the fact that the trading posts still return like really nice coin value. So to me, it doesn't make too much sense without extra factors to go for Fire 1. If engineers could get the first 3 spot on Fire Cult, that's when I would start considering Fire 1, is because you do still get another type of economy for it. I would also consider Air 2 highly as engineers here if I want to think about not Earth 2, because Air 2 gives me an extra worker in round 3 and might give me an extra spade in round 5, and those are both great for engineers. The problem being you already burned down to 7 by taking that double dig, and engineers make so much power already. Burning down to 7 and then planning to have 4 more per round doesn't feel good either.
But that's the thing, right? Air 2 would actually make Sanctuary look okay.
That's also true, because covering up your second temple, replacing it with a sanctuary, ignoring the 5 power, yeah, now Air 2. Now we're starting to have a cohesive game plan around Air 2.
But well, that's a speculation, right? Let's keep to the game because we could talk and talk about optional lines. But the thing is, oh no, which is best first. I could actually see Indies getting that first spot, right? And also the Fire 1 justification is that since they already are placing the dwellings, they do have a worker income. So they might not need the but I defer to your experience with engineers. I think the workers are just way too more important.
Yeah, it's really hard to say that Air 2 and how it makes up for Engineer's weakest point isn't the best. I hope I said Earth 2. I might have said Air 2. I meant Earth 2. Okay, so as you mentioned, witches passed first. They get the dwelling scoring tile. They're getting more leech here. As nomads, is that a... No, that's the bonus spade. Okay, I thought it was a hard dig for a second. I almost had a heart attack.
Yeah, witches are probably saving their power to take a double spade action at h5 and h6, right? Because b7 is going to be taken. There are considerations for c6, maybe, to try to make a sanctuary town with c6 and a8 or c5.
What
Alchemist
about...
probably gets to c5.
I'm not so sure. What if witches try to make a 4-hex bridge town between d6 and b6?
Oh, that
If
could be interesting. That's
Look,
nice.
you're getting a lot of workers by going stronghold first. You're gonna have extra workers as witches. It's just a thing that happens on most witches games. You're getting bonus workers at the end of round 3. I think if alchemists don't prioritize shipping and digging b5 soon enough, we might see Zorus get real aggressive on c5 and try to make a 4-hex town there.
Yeah, I think we could see a double spade a 6 c5 right on the first turn of witches
Oh,
next round. I think that's viable.
okay. You see, I think
I
that's
mean,
just too inefficient for round 2.
is it inefficient when you have a stronghold to just pop dwellings everywhere? The point is here that that's already a swing, right? Because how do alchemists connect for the expansion? They don't. So witches are basically saying, okay, here are at least 6 points for me with the expansion.
You know, that's true. That's true. And I do think witches do need to fight hard for these big building distance points because we know that all the other factions are they're gonna get their points in the ways we know how and contest the big building bonus. So
Right, but also talking about key hexes, now there's a mounting pressure for the way the numbers are. We didn't really talk about this E5 or F5, depending on what your alchemist gets. Right? If witches take C5, then that pressure is gone. Nomads gets the G4 to G5, G6 roll.
yeah,
But if alchemist gets to C5 and then maybe rushes to the south, then E5 and F5 become pressure points between alchemists and nomads.
absolutely. Yeah, and that E5 red is definitely more valuable for fakirs than for nomads, but nomads can still make good use out of it. And I mean, nomads still want it to connect for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so nomads
actually,
passed.
engineers. Please start. Yeah, for the cold step, right?
Mm-hmm. So their economy looks good going into round 2, and they have some power. They could take a coins action, and if they took a coins action and spent their priest as a worker, maybe they'd want to build their stronghold, but maybe not. So one thing that happened at the end of last round, I didn't expect it coming, is NerdCube took the priest action, and he did get the 3 spots on both water and fire. That's really nice. The cult spade went on b5, so he is going to make it over there, unless Zorus digs it now. And Zorus, what did he do with his first action? E7.
Oh, I like that actually, because A9 is too safe. Engineers shouldn't reach that. But now Witches has a third town plan, right? At E7.
Right.
Through F8, G7. I like that. I think E7 is accurate.
Yeah. Wow.
The issue though about I actually foresaw Eric carrying that priest, right? Because he got the power from Earth 2, and
Right.
it's still working later, and it blocks the priest spot. And now he really has a strong cult game going on.
Yes. And that landscape's going to
Uh,
save him 2 priests also later in the game.
Right, we got landscapes. I almost forgot about that. But the thing about nomads is they're probably upgrading their shipping right now, taking a single spade to maybe grab F6 and G6. So I think the shipping could help nomads a lot here, but I'm not sure which way they're going. Because maybe they get workers. What did they do? Oh, they said
Priest
to
to
air
air.
actually. Priest to air. That's also good, right? The lots of bonus coming from
I mean,
air.
it's good, but I don't think I would have seen it coming. You do have the cult step in hand, so you do really want to make sure you take the time to use that cult step here. It would be a pretty big waste, I think, to take the 3 spot on air and then not use the cult step on air. So I think that's gonna be a bit bad tempo-wise for Deep Finesse, but I don't think tempo is a big enough consideration here for him. Bisagoa looks like he might have a relatively weak round here. It looks like it's just a temple and pass. He does have a bonus spade, but no, it has to be C2.
Yeah, it has to be C2, but that's not bad, right? I mean, I could say that there's not a great use for his priest, so he might just place a dwelling in C2, converting the priest to a worker.
Yeah, I think I like that because, as you suggest, like the only other good priest I think is Earth for 3. I don't
It could
see.
be viable as well. Maybe he throws it all on Earth. He's thinking right now. But yeah, C2, I think his first action for sure is C2, right? There's no other threats unless Alchemist also sends a priest to Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he goes for C2. I mean, it's just a safe thing.
Right.
Could we see a Noman Stronghold in this round?
It's a little
I think
early.
Yeah, but the
I
thing
think
is,
you want to take the coins action if you're nomads here. That's what I
could
would
be,
do.
but what are you doing with 20 coins? You sent your priest, so
Excuse me?
Stronghold is expensive.
Excuse me, Logus. Did you say what are you gonna do with those coins?
Yeah, okay. Gotta remember Andrew saying is the TM is a game of coins.
Yeah. And Deep Finesse should, in my opinion, take advantage of having a nice leechy position and take that coin action.
Or he
And
could take a line from Eric and go double tempo, right? Place another tempo now for Earth 1.
how about Air 2? You're already committed to the air cult.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, go crazy econ. I mean, at that point, there's the big problem that you're not like you're really counting on the pass tiles once you go double econ with an econ faction. You really have to score high on the pass tiles, and that I'm not so sure is happening here.
Okay, yeah, Zoras takes the double dig.
But it's not C5. He's letting Alchemist get to C5.
Such a nice guy.
Yeah, the other spade going on F8. I mean, Zoras is getting like really great access to more greens if he gets temp ship or buys a shipping. So there's definitely strong merit to this.
Yeah, and the reason he doesn't go for C5 is actually he thinks his position isn't that great. I think he wants Alchemist to get to C5 and then F6, F7 eventually, right? That could give Alchemist that gives Witches a neighbor there for his
Right.
town.
Right. So this is
So
thinking like 3 rounds, 4 rounds down the line, and I think this is a really great point, Logus. This is something I try to like put in chat for TM streams that I watch. Is like, don't be too aggressive if you want a neighbor later, because if you get too aggressive and like block people away from hexes that neighbor you, now you're like sticking yourself with no cheap trading post options where you want them. So I think if this is looking ahead to getting Alchemist on F6, F7, I fully approve of this.
yeah, chat was commenting on Twitch that maybe NerdCube doesn't get enough workers to get the stronghold, but if you look closely to the fire code, and he can probably send some priests for more power, he easily gets the worker actions and he gets enough workers.
Oh yeah, I mean I don't with that priest
has
on
Earth
priest
too.
slot on fire and Earth 2. And we have incomes
worst
on
case scenario.
we have incomes
worst case
on
scenario.
chat.
Huh? Yeah. And worst case scenario, those priests, they're just workers with fancy robes, right? You just take off the robes, convert them to workers, and it's fine. You got the. He's fine, guys. He gets the stronghold.
Yes. Zoras spending a single dig action here. Now I'm starting to get worried on Zoras's behalf. He spent 10 power on dig actions this round. Where's the coins coming?
I would rather hard dig that, but he didn't have the workers, I think, right? Yeah, only 2 left. He didn't have the workers.
Yeah.
I think that actually Zoras should have maybe taken coins first. He had enough power to take coins first and then double spade, because no one else was threatening the double spade.
Technically, I think engineers could have ended up with it with a generous leech from somewhere, or Nomads had enough power, but I suppose they didn't have a hex. So, yeah, you might have had a point. I didn't look at it too closely, but maybe close examination would have shown that there wasn't any huge threat on the double dig action.
But well,
Zorus does get to put down a lot of dwellings this round.
Yeah, his economy is looking really good right now in terms of workers, in terms of coins. Let's see what he pulls off. Also, we gotta remember he's sitting on the dwelling pass tile, so those are points for him.
That's very true. Zorus is treating this as his dwelling round. He's placing like 5 dwellings or something like that, and he has his stronghold, so he has map flexibility without buying shipping. He's just a trading post away from getting a town, and that could easily just be a coin town. And yeah, I think in a lot of ways, this does pay off. This is I'm gonna say it's a very impressive game plan from Zorus. I would not have been able to put this together.
The question now is that he will need those coins, right? The connection plans for him are looking all look towards 3 shipping, right? Or
Yes.
2 shipping UI4 and taking each 7.
But yeah, that's 2 shipping. I think that's probably the cheapest way to do it. Of course, the southern part only needs 1 shipping, but D6 and B6 are already 2 ship away from each other. So
then A9. As we mentioned, it Nomas did they pick the priest?
Okay.
They picked the direction. They increased the shipping to say, no, Alchemist is not getting to the border right.
Yeah.
He just 6 with a hard dig to make sure that, but no, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, and Nomads do have a really nice worker base here. They get an extra cult worker, and the resources look good for Deep Finesse. Bisagoa did take the coins action this round, I think, and that's to fund the temple, which now is more efficiently built. And Bisagoa's Power Bowl looks like it's going to be pretty full to start next round, and it might be past the clock for him.
Yeah, I'm starting to really like Angie's game here. The real question though is, where are they? How well are they going to do with expansion? Right, with the expansion scoring, it's not very clear to me yet. What is the diagonal that they are looking for?
Yeah, witches we've definitely established already. It's going to be G3A10 or G3A9. Engineers, yeah. I think their sanctuary goes E6 and they try to get an A1 stronghold. That might be what I would look for, but that's pretty shifty to try to get to A1 in the first place. Yeah, E6 is about equidistance from both the top left and the bottom left, but bottom left is not the right color.
Hey, E6 to A1 already beats witches at least, right? It's 11 distance against I think 9 for witches.
Okay, so yeah, that sounds viable then.
I didn't say it was viable. I'd say it was better than witches, but to get to A1, bro, that's a long road.
Yeah, but look at all the grays the engineers have already got. They're either A8 or E5 away from connecting. They have these 2 really easy grays west.
Engineers took shipping, and they're gonna get double spade. My bet is they take E5 to connect, and they take A9 from witches to make a bridge town.
Okay, what about a double bridge town?
Yeah, it's even there, right? So it will be a double bridge town.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, and as you say, E5, A9, bam.
This is really good. Honestly, I think this is really good. Angie's got a lot of axes now to place dwellings on. They got F5, D3, F3, A9.
Yeah, and now witches are pretty much out of the big building scoring at the end. They're not getting northwest. They're not getting northeast. The distance between south center and southeast is not big at all. It's like 6 or 7. The only player you're going to beat with that number is someone who doesn't build both big buildings.
Yeah, I wonder if E7 was just too greedy, right? I mean, yeah, it killed the engineer's town, but you lost A9 and you lost a good expansion. But maybe Zardis is just aiming to ditch expansion, right? Because his early stronghold are really kind of as a committal move that kind of said, okay, I'm not really fighting for this.
That's true. And when you're the faction starting at 30, maybe Zorus cares more about getting 2 towns for sure and hoping for a third, getting those Witch's Natural points, trying to get a lot of structures down. The stronghold definitely helps with that goal, perhaps. Or perhaps that is one of his goals. And then if that's his plan, I'm not sure he's doing well enough on cults. And
Yeah,
he didn't take
that's the main issue. Yeah, where are these points coming from? It's not very clear, right? Because also, if Nomads does a stronghold now, we just have to take care of H7. Otherwise, they don't connect, or connection just becomes too expensive.
Yeah, agree. Nomads are
Oh, they go
placing
for
the lands. Another hard dig. I like the hard digs for Nomads. I think digging a few times with workers is totally fine with Nomads on strongholds that come after round 1. Stronghold is not quite enough to get all the hexes you want. Nomads do really like making this ring around the lakes. They guarantee connection this way. They're definitely getting some engineers help to get that landscape power activated. I like this.
Yep. But Nomads, would Nomads actually use that priest as a worker here? Right? Because they're going to build a stronghold and they're going to sandstorm something.
Yeah.
Is it
It's a great question. Like, what are they actually sandstorming? And my answer to you, Logus, is I don't know. It might be G5. They might worry about that town before trying to secure E4, though probably wrong. E4 is just more important. So it does look like that priest is a fancy worker.
Yeah, E4 is more important, and also there's a huge threat, right? Eric has that spade in his hand; he's just holding it and looking what happens. But he could just also advance shipping twice. Eric should advance shipping twice, or does he put the stronghold as a priority? Because maybe he wants to.
Once you place the stronghold, you can do your landscape, right? And if he uses this bonus spade for the landscape on something like F2, that seems like a really good proposition to me.
I agree completely. Also, he sure really wants to advance shipping soon, right? Because the shipping will get him so many hexes. At least G5, he should maybe try to save G5 as a natural hex. And shipping 3 will let him also be 2.
Right, but you only have to spend 1 priest for that because the landscape gives you 1.
Yeah, right. It's really a hard game for Alchemist because we didn't consider that not having the shipping VP tile and the Bond 6, the big buildings VP tile, Alchemist really needs that to offset his costs in terms of victory points.
Yes, absolutely. And especially double temple openings are even more coin intensive. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how many points NerdCube ends up with. And on top of that, I think it's also going to be interesting to see at the end of the game how many coin versions he spent and like what he got out of it. This is a very fun game plan. NerdCube has 4 priests on cults already. I would even suggest that he's looking at 20 endgame cult points here, almost guaranteed. There's just a long way to go.
I agree. He has the at least 20. Observe that although air is stacked, he's not drawing priests to the air. He's only caring about really the early rewards and not the points. He knows that air is going to be covered. Everyone's going to draw priests to air to get some.
Yes.
More. So he doesn't care about air anymore. He's just okay. You guys can fight over that. I'll just grab the rest.
And it's just one more part of this game that's just absolutely classic NerdCube. go for the cults that are more likely to score compared to the ones that are going to be fought over for econ. It's a total nerd cube move. Yeah.
This guy is such a nerd cube. So what would they say as witches? The question is, I'm concerned about witches that they still don't have a tempo now. Sure, you have tempo scoring next round, but I'm starting to get really worried about their points. They will probably still get water one to start scoring, but they are not getting expansion scoring. They are not getting codes. They are getting this connection, hopefully.
Right. The only thing that we can be assured of is that they're getting one more town in the southeast. Like that's definitely going to happen, right? Zoras have to screw up real bad to not get that second town. So that's like another 12 points. Let's just bank for Zoras. And then he's at 58 and nobody else has cracked 30 right now. Still very early. Players are focusing on econ for sure a lot more than scoring. But if you're in Zora's position and seeing all these like lack of endgame, I agree. Like the 30 gap is very quickly closed. And I mean, for that reason, I think you have no choice but to wait to temple next round.
Right.
Just
I think he
gotta,
actually might build another trading post this round because he's sitting on the best tile, right? He has plenty of
yeah,
workers. He would like more coins.
absolutely. I think a trading post on E7 is pretty likely, and upgrade both H4 and E7 to temples for water.
He hard digs H7. He hard digs H7 to make sure he connects. He's
Wise,
at least
very
fighting
wise.
for those. Yes, I like that play. I think it's very accurate.
Yep. I mean, Nomads were likely sandblasting E4 anyway. Nerdcube didn't even care. He just built F2 instead of placing the landscape. I guess deciding he doesn't need to get that 3 shipping yet, though I definitely am on the same page as you, where if I'm Alchemist, I'm really trying to get G5 in before Nomads get to it.
I think as Eric, I would just advance my shipping and wait for the Sandstorm. If he Sandstorms E4, I grab G5. Otherwise, if he tries to Sandstorm G5, I kill his town in E4.
Yeah. But I don't know if Nerdcube can get to G5 this round, and that means Nomads likely beat them to G5 next round. Maybe I'm just off on something, but
I don't know. I think it was worth a shot. Oh, actually, we might see the third Witch's Town, right, with Fire Shield, because H7, it's not just 2 digs in I5 for the third town there.
yeah, okay. And then you don't need neighbors if you have a sanctuary on H7.
Yeah, but
well, neighbors are going to be tough.
Somewhere.
Neighbors are going to be tough down in that corner. Nomads and engineers aren't incentivized to get down there. Alchemists are incentivized to get down there, but they're already cut off. So, yeah, Alchemists are just never getting F7 I8, right? Those black hexes are completely dead for them.
I think that Eric, I'm not sure I like his plan, but he might be just delaying the big structures to make a longer placement. But I'm not sure it's a viable plan here. He still has some hopes if he advances dig to eventually delay a turn and maybe dig A8 and then go to B8. He could dig A8 and go to B8 to actually place a big building there. That could give him his expansion in the long diagonal.
It's very fancy. I cringe at the thought of spending 3 workers on digs before the Alchemist economy is like fully fleshed out. Like his economy is good. It's about where it needs to be, but it's not like better than it needs to be. And if I'm thinking of something like a triple dig, I want to be beyond where I need to be before making that decision.
Right. That's why I'm telling you that he's delaying the big buildings because he doesn't have the code yet. Make the placement, right? He will eventually place them, but we will probably see a stronghold in the little island in the bottom left, right? He'll probably place a stronghold there, and we'll make that nasty dig at A8 and go to B8 and play the sanctuary there.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Now I'm on board with what you're saying. So
right, that's why he's not doing the stuff. He's just, as you said, he's developing his economy. Just placing more.
So I think we've now done a decent job laying out the ways that witches and alchemists can get to a win in this game. So alchemists will try to get big building, 18 points of endgame. They're going to get their big scoring favor stuff. They're probably going to need a pass tile or two in the endgame and really hit the track in the remainder. Witches, they're going to aim for 3 towns. They're going to aim for network scoring. And cults for alchemists as well. So witches, 3 towns, network scoring, their current points lead, and some good work on the track. I think that's how witches are trying to get their winning amounts of points. What about engineers and nomads? Engineers seem to be doing well on the map, but do they have enough points in reserve? And then nomads, what exactly are they doing? Like just good moves, and they need to still mash it all together into a cohesive game plan?
That's just classical deep finesse, right? Just grab the key axes and then worry about stuff later, about towns and those things. Just worry about them later. About could be some consideration about F3. Maybe Alchemist wants to pick F3 to make the sanctuary town, but I don't see it, right? I think F3 is still safe. One important thing that we didn't discuss about Alchemist that I need to get back to is if they don't make their strongholds soon, those are a lot of victory points lost as coins, right? As chat was noticing. Maybe this does not, stalling the stronghold does not pay off, right? Because there's way too many coins that you're paying as victory points.
Yeah, well, we see something that will help Eric make up those points. It's actually the sanctuary here. So water 1, getting it down, I guess 1 trading post before the stronghold would be built makes some sense. It's not what I would have predicted, but I mean, points are points, and if he wants to get water 1 right now, I think that's fair enough.
Right, but now what kind of diagonal is he looking for in the expansion?
I mean, he just has B4 I1. There's no better. He just has to put that stronghold on I1. So that's only 8.
Yeah, that's not very impressive.
And he's down to 22 points. He still needs maybe 20 more points to coins this game. If we say he has 2 workers, 20 coins, and 2 points, does he have enough to win this game?
Yeah, I don't
really
like
on
it.
the edge.
I would. Yeah, I'm not betting on him. I'm liking the finesse game more here and engineers.
Okay.
So yeah, we actually I completely missed that. I forgot. I told you, we would look at end of round 1 after the opening to see who is doing better. But we can discuss about that now, right? I think nomads and engineers are just ahead, right? Like clearly ahead.
I'm gonna say don't discount Zorus here. I think this game plan is sneaky clever. I'm liking Zorus' game plan the more I look at it.
Right. His point advantage is clearly coming through, right? But also you have to account that he already made a town. So that's one town that the other guys can still get. Maybe Aegis, I see 2 towns for Aegis right now. I don't see the third yet. Maybe he grabs D2 and E1 and makes the third town there. Or the stronghold town with A1 from D3, D3, A2, A1. Those could be his third towns.
I was thinking that engineers could go F1 to D3. So D3 drag down to F1 and then make the bridge on B3 for the current north center. But C4 could easily just be the sanctuary town. Fire 2 probably going to be easiest path for engineers to make those 3 towns. Just because the neighbor situation in the northeast is not great. You probably want a sanctuary on C4, and then you can have 2 trading posts for the west town. That's what I would envision for 3 towns.
Right. I think that he might actually do another temple right now at B7 and do sanctuary in the northeast for a better distance, right? Because I don't see the C4 as a good place if you want the expansion scoring.
That's true. That's very true. It's not.
But then again, how much do you want to sacrifice for the expansion scoring? because that means that the C4 now needs to be a bridge town to B3 or to D3. So in my experience in the Fire and Ice ladder, it's usually better to try to win the expansion scoring with only 2 towns than try to win it with 3 towns. 3 towns is just too much sacrifice in terms of resources, and the expansion points, the swing is just larger.
Right, the expansion point swing is larger than a town, and I think a lot of players realize that that's the case for just the normal network scoring too. Like sometimes fighting for that is just better than going for your third town on its own. And in the fact that towns like constrain each player on the location of certain buildings, like that is like counterproductive to winning this kind of third endgame scoring. So I think you have a very good point that 2 towns and ensuring you're maximizing your endgame scoring categories does do better in the long run than trying to get 3 towns and do well on the endgame score. You're probably going to get tactically beaten up for it.
Yeah, 3 towns is it would be like the plan B. Oh, you can't connect. Then just do a third town somewhere close, right? You see Darklings in Div 1 do a lot of that in Salmon. Darklings to just split and do 3 towns.
Absolutely. Okay, so what has happened here? We're 3 actions into round 4?
Yep. And no temples built yet. Nomads did build their town for another coin town, so you can see those going real fast.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Oh,
whoa!
Eric just passes.
0 move round for Nerdcube.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is he waiting for more power? Because he needs some bridges, right? At least one from. Actually, he doesn't need a bridge to C5, but it would save a bit of a hex, right? If he wants 3 towns.
Who's passing right now, Logus?
Sorry, huh? Sorry,
who would pass in front of Nerdcube? Because he's taken a 0 move round to pass on to a trading house tile. I get it, but I think it's like very clearly wrong. I really wouldn't expect anyone else to take a 1 move round. I don't think there's a reason to take a 0 move round here.
Yeah, I think that witches will definitely make another temple. Will they? They're a bit short on coins. They will convert power, I guess, to get the second temple because they really need the track scoring. But other than that, I think nomads will still make a temple, right? Or would they actually? No, yeah, they definitely should make a second temple for one or for water. Actually, there's an issue right here, right? Engineers are not getting water 1. That's really bad for an engineers game, right? They were having a great game, but they didn't plan ahead, and now nomads will get water 1.
Oh, well, no, they're protecting it.
Oh, they're taking the sanctuary, late sanctuary for water 1. I think that's accurate, actually. Because they have enough resources to make another temple. The location is bad.
Yeah, the location should be E6, right? Because you could still, like, these are 4 heck towns, I think, in the easiest format. So I think just putting this sanctuary on E6 is way better than putting it on C4.
I agree, but I love that play because now Deep Finesse is a bit constrained for a point, right? I mean, he doesn't get 1. He already places a bunch of dwellings, so Earthphone isn't as valuable.
Yeah, I mean, Earth 1, how many points is that? Probably, it's going to be 12 or 14. Maybe it's not the worst Earth 1.
Yeah, it's not the worst Earth 1. 14 points is still quite valid, right? Water 1 will be 15 to 18, so it's not a huge difference.
Right.
The problem is, ideally, you could get both.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Zorus could take Earth 1 here. How funny would that be? Instead, he uses the Witch's Ride, so that's pretty clear indication he's not taking Earth 1.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would like Earth 1. It's could
probably
be
only
good.
like 8. It would probably be only 8 points.
Before he placed that dwelling, it was 4, 5. It was 10 points, at least 10 points, right?
You think Zorus is getting to 15 or 16 structures?
Yes, with the landscape. I think he does that easily. His economy is huge because of his stronghold.
Okay, well,
And
this is
there-
also a fun fact of why Zorus should build 2 temples this round. It opens up the landscape.
Exactly, and now maybe there's some cloud competition, right? Not
Yeah,
big
like there could be
cloud
some really
competition,
good second places. There are going to be some cheap second places maybe achievable with that Ravens blunder. Swing the game like 8 points instead of getting 5 points on your town. That would be a fun thing to end the Premier League season with, is a useful Ravens blunder.
Oh, I actually like that landscape. I really got some of the first place swings with that landscape against Cultists. It's really good because sometimes it just comes out of nowhere, you know.
Right.
So
Okay.
that early pass about Eric, we never found out who was the guilty guy, right? Who he was paranoid about. Someone was gonna pass ahead of him, but who?
Right.
Noise and
And
engineers both wanted water one.
at worst, alchemists can do 1 ship advance because they converted 2 priests to 2 workers before passing. Because they have 4 priests on the cult tracks, they're making 2 priests around. They're like way overproducing that.
Yeah, they have 5 priests at the cults. Sorry, just correcting there because
Oh,
it's not
5.
right.
Okay, but I think that makes advancing a tech even better to like squeeze that in here and have better tempo for your advanced, like using your advanced digs, using your advanced ship next round. Yeah,
I agree.
I think there's just too
completely
much
agree.
missed opportunity with this 0 move round.
But hey, they got the points right. They're kind of desperate for points right now. Eric is really bad position without a stronghold because, as we said, it's just too many coins on the drain. Too many victory points.
I mean, it's fun that he's
looking at
getting
this-
10. It's fun he's getting 10 cult coins here. At the end of the round.
As we said, Nomads actually goes for F1, right? If you can get water 1, well, that's what we got.
Mm-hmm. And does seal off G5 from Alchemists.
Yeah, I would like to see Witches or Nomads pass right now for the dwelling, right? Because Witches, although they will build some trading posts, well, Witches can still get another temple, but although they will build some trading posts, they will still have enough economy to place the dwellings and still score well on dwellings. Or do you think that they should leave it for the final round?
I think they should take dwelling scoring if it's available. I also don't mind them passing right behind the player that takes dwelling scoring. Because next round they still have their Witches ride every round, right? So they're guaranteed to put a dwelling somewhere. And making a couple of trading posts and doing that seems like a fine round to me.
Yeah, also the advantage is that you have to be careful about the resources, right? Because Eric passed with a lot of resources due to the dwelling tile. If you think about it, he's going to have a huge round.
Yes.
So he will stall out with the no one else is getting the TP pass tile, and he's probably getting the dwelling tile unless you pass right after the dwelling tile. So they should be trying to aim to pass after the dwelling tile just to take it from Eric.
I think that's a really great point. And I think, I don't know, would you say if Eric doesn't get the dwelling tile, he's out of the game?
I wouldn't say that. It's 8 points. There's too much going on, right? To say, 8 points is the game. But he really needs all the help he could get, right?
He's going into round 5 with 21 points.
Yeah.
He's getting 8 on his sash distance. Like this, I don't see it. I don't see it.
I don't see it either. But every little thing counts.
Yeah. I want to call Zorus winning this game right now. I want to hot take Zorus winning this game.
I think it's a bit early, but I won't judge you. I would say you are accurate. But I would not count Nomads out of the game yet.
Oh, no, certainly not. Like, it's not that I dislike anyone else's game. I just think Zorus's plan is by far the most cohesive.
Right. It's just not the best plan for the expansion scoring, unfortunately. The Nomads plan, they still have a good distance if they reach B1.
Sure.
And Nomads already have 1 shipping advance, they should get another. What I would like to see from Eric, first move is actually take coins. Because you're blocking the table. Of course, they already have enough coins, but every deck actually needs those points
Yeah.
that badly.
He needs 3 extra points. He's already going to give up 3 points when he builds a trading post on I1 to become a stronghold, right? Like, he's never getting a neighbor down there, and he needs a town there. So it's going to be a stronghold, expensive trading post somewhere. So to get the coins action makes up for that. It takes coins away from the table. Coins are definitely still a tough resource to get this game. Zorus just passed on making the second temple, took the dwelling tile because, in part, of his coins issues. And Deep Finesse is like doing fine on coins, but could be doing better, I presume.
No, he's fine. Come on, man. He got Fire 1, and he's receiving 11 coins right just from Priest of Fire 1, right? I think he's fine. He's either passing for the spade or for the tile that Aegis currently holds. So coins shouldn't be an issue for ornaments.
All right.
The question, actually, I have a question: is where are the priests from engineers? He sent one priest to the cults, right?
Wait.
Did he that much? Also, he didn't advance shipping. He just converted them to workers. All those priests.
What?
Yeah, we weren't really paying attention to that.
Oh my gosh.
The guy is not a religious guy. Yeah, he's an atheist. I won't judge him, but in Terra Mystica, you gotta be a bit religious.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's so much you can get from it. And it looks like Fire 2 is not on the menu for him. As he's taking a 7 PowerPoint town in the middle here with a priest town. Okay, he's getting one back. Was this the plan all along? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. At least he gets a cold spade afterwards, but he should really pick. I think he should go Earth, right? And at least try to get second Earth here. Ensure he gets some second place.
Yep.
Oh, here with your Rabbit Air 1 as well. He's like going full scoring with engineers.
I think it's the right play. Like, I guess you could take Water 2? Like, or take Fire 2 on the temple build and build the trading post on B7 next round.
I'm just sad about engineers steal the Sanctuary and C4 is so bad. Now he gets third place because Alchemists will beat them in the expansion scoring. And there's possibly maybe Witches beats them. I don't see it, but the expansion scoring for Witches might be better than Engineers.
Yeah, it might be saved by this bad C4 Sanctuary. Well, lots of mini subplots. Nerdcube does take the coins, as we expected. Now claiming in chat that 2 resources to 1 point is OP. That's an interesting plot twist. Will we see Nerdcube go for hoarding alchemists to try to win this game? Stay tuned.
Yeah, I don't think so. Hey, wishful thinking, right? But
yeah.
Who knows? Maybe. But yeah, because he's gonna build the 420 pulse here for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But he still has some towns come. Do you think he just takes cold towns and locks up those golds? I think so, right?
I think that has to be the play. Maybe not the 2-key town, but like the 8-point towns both seem really good for Eric here.
Yeah. I would definitely not go for the 2-key town here because the coast he's winning, he's pretty much already winning. Although Deep Finesse is kind of trying to contest fire, right?
Yeah, and hear me out here. What if, like, how much worse? Oh, never mind. Okay, I was gonna say something about the priest towns being better because you get to like focus your energy on the 2 cults that are being most contested in Fire and Earth. But then I realized he's already got 5 priests on cults. He can't spend too many more there until the last round.
Yeah. So what I would like to see here is Nomads actually advancing shipping, right? Because they really need to start thinking about their sanctuary place.
Yep.
They need to grab E1 or E2 fast.
Yep. I completely agree. It's one of those 2 hexes. Nomads did advance ship to 2 this round. They just did that right now.
Yeah, and I like C1 a lot better than E2 because if they grab E2, they could just get blocked by engineers, right? Engineers just grabs D2. Yeah.
And they still have 2 sandstorms left, right? So Spade
Right,
C1, B1, and then Anywhere is their third hex.
Yeah, and they're probably getting a neighbor in D2, right? Engineers maybe should try the third town, because after C4, their expansion scoring died. They really should be looking for a third town now.
Agree. Do you think that I'm just like purely speculating here without doing any research? This is very dangerous for me to say. But do you think Bisagoa might just be less experienced with expansion scoring and not really realize how much you need to pay attention to this kind of like location of Sanctuary?
I don't know if he plays Nelmon or not, so maybe, right? Also, you have to take into account it's like midnight already over there. He might have not realized it. He might have forgot, oh, there's expansion scoring. That happens from time to me as well.
Fair enough. And yeah, while Bisagoa has no Premier League points this year, that could very well be due to the rough timing over in Europe.
Yeah, I would like to see Angie's double spade, right? But the question is, where do they spade? They want D2, maybe they pick B3 as well, make a bridge town, because they're not sure they are getting E1. Alchemist could block that easily. Nomads could actually go to E2, then Sandstorm E1, and save the third Sandstorm for D1 or F1. And Nomads can't be bastards here.
Nope. I mean, that's what we were highlighting from the very beginning, right? Nomads are going to have the upper hand in the late game, seeing which color player 2 away from them, because both Alchemists and Engineers we were projecting to do better than Witches. Those are both 2 away from Nomads, and that thereby Nomads with their Sandstorm are going to be able to really determine a lot of the flow of this game, this end game rather, in terms of the end game scoring and who gets cut off, who doesn't.
Yeah.
So
Zoris is running into the trouble we mentioned. He doesn't have neighbors for those trading posts into the towns.
yeah,
He opted to delay. He's doing so poorly. Oh no, actually he's doing he's just placing his second temple now. Instead of placing it in the temple round, he chose to place it now to delay 1 turn.
yeah,
It's going.
It's a couple coins better, right? Because you leave the trading post open last round.
But hear me out. What about doing a late temple for Fire One if he's so desperate for coins, right? It's still 4 points, but you don't points.
What did he take? He took Air One?
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you're gonna save the trading post and now you're gonna kill your coins to make a temple off round, and those coins could be for trading post, even an expensive one. Is it
so? This is what I'm seeing with Thoris's game now. I'm seeing you single hard dig G7, Witches ride there, and you bridge town, leave your game at 2 towns, but then you get to build cheap trading posts on D6 and B6.
Yeah, that could be a more viable plan. I agree.
And then
Also,
even
the way
like H5 for like getting all your trading posts up.
Right. Now there's something that could wait, Anges doesn't have shipping, right?
They have no shipping. They've only reached out places on temp ship.
Yeah.
They need to afford 2 shipping.
Right. Because as we said before, Nomads chose to go E2, then Engineers dug E2, but now Nomads will just Sandstorm E1. That's terrible for Engineers.
I think Nomads only Sandstorm that if they think Engineers are a threat. Apparently, they do.
No. They want their town. This is their Sanctuary town. He's probably doing the Sanctuary in E1, right?
D1 is only 1 diagonal worse than B1. How many distance is that?
I think, given the poor placements from everyone, I think it's
10?
enough, actually.
Yeah, it's 10 distance. It's farther than the other ones we've seen. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, also, this is why I asked about engineer shipping, because they could maybe threaten F1, drew F3, but their shipping is 0, so they threaten nothing.
And this is like part of why using the priest's fancy workers too early can cause trouble. I think is yeah.
Because engineers could threaten D1 to double dig D1 in case, like as revenge to punish nomads. But even if they do that, then Nomad just sends Storm F1, and they're still in a very good position.
Yep. So let's see. I think Zorus takes a bridge on this move. I am wrong. Nerdcube, I would say, wants the bridge this round to build the Sanctuary Town and get a bridge for next round's town also, perhaps. Maybe that bottom left town is fine on 5 structures if he double digs H1 later and gets Stronghold 4 dwellings for that town. But I'm seeing bridge pressure here, right? Because engineers are never sad to take a bridge if they plan on building Stronghold. Maybe engineers aren't building Stronghold because
Right,
then
maybe not because they don't have a good stronghold to build, right? But I mean, if they're gonna have to bridge B7 to A9 anyways, you might as well build a stronghold for 6 points if you don't have anything else to do.
look, I agree. But yeah, I think is Zorus still dreaming of 3 towns? I don't see that happening with these trading post upgrades on H5 B6. That just looks like
There
completely
might be one if he takes a Sanctuary for Fire 2, right? And he might be interested in a Sanctuary for Fire 2 just because Angie's killed their own expansion.
But you can't overbuild, like, I don't know, you can't overbuild this badly elsewhere. This is a lot of structure points to like put into other places.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, as you mentioned it, then Zora should really pick that bridge right now.
Yeah.
If he's going for that, he really should be picking that bridge.
I don't know why Nerdcube's
Something-
waiting on this move. Like, this has to be bridge for him, I think.
I
Like, there's
think
just too
Eric
much
is
bridge.
not that. I think Eric's not that worried about bridges because he can just dig I2 and A7. He still makes towns without bridges. He's fine, right?
That's what he's
But
apparently doing. He doesn't take the bridge.
Zoras will need that bridge. He could theoretically go for I5, but and make the Sanctuary in H7, but that's still beatable by Aegis in terms of expansion scoring,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If he wants a Sanctuary to actually get some points from expansion, it needs to be E7.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing as well. And I'm seeing this round that Zorus will hard dig G7 and Witches Ride it. He could easily Raven's Blunder it, but I think that using the Witches Ride, make sure you get use of it this round is better value, and just place the Blunder somewhere else later in round 6. Because the pass timing is a thing here.
It's really sad that Zoras went for Air 1 at the temple. I think Fire Shield Temple was more interesting because then he maybe could hard dig I5, place the landscape, and then make a expensive upgrade in H8. That will give him a town with Raven's Blunder. That means another 3 air. Oh, that's why he went actually Air 1. Because he wants to make a town and get to 8 on air. But he wanted it through Air 1. But I think it should have been Fire 2. And then he maybe gets a Cold Town to get that spade, right?
Yeah, and Cult Town looks really good for those like fire and water cults too, where there's just going to be some cheap couple points most likely at the end here. Bisagoa hasn't been too priesty yet and does start advancing shipping finally. Zorus didn't do the bridge. He just built that trading house, and I guess that means he's considering passing.
He just wants, he wants the I don't see the towns yet, the 3 towns. I don't know what he's aiming for here.
Yeah. It's just too low on neighbors in that corner. Deep Finesse has been able to take this stronghold town whenever he wants to, but he's been delaying and doing other stuff like E1 and E2. Do you think this has...
he's actually prioritizing power, right? Power from
Okay.
engineers. Sorry to interrupt, but I think that's the thought there. Just get more power from engineers.
I think you have to be right. And he's pretty impartial to timing of his town. He's got plenty of resources. No one was immediately threatening to finish one. So
Yeah, so
Nerdcube gets that landscape down. He's going to need to pay
Yeah.
another 10 points to get these upgrades. 9.
well, at least he gets the points back for each coin, right? But it's even a bit more efficient than that. But yeah, as we mentioned, he's gonna have to start digging for his towns if he's not going for the pre.
Versions already happened. We Finesse's cult game, I'm also rating as pretty solid here. Deep Finesse has 3 priests clearly remaining in his game.
But we can still continue the casting through the game.
Okay.
Let me check the Twitch actually.
All right.
Yeah, there was a disconnection in the Twitch, unfortunately.
Okay. I guess I'll start on, or let me know when we're back on. Are we back on?
The Twitch we are still not back on, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah, I think we should probably just make note.
Yeah, I will notify the chat that we should be back shortly.
Okay.
I think I will notify Zars on BGA. He told me that if there were issues, we should talk to him through there. Okay, we are back.
Oh, okay, great. I was just going to start taking some notes for what to talk about as we get back on track here. So apologies for the technical difficulties. We are still in round 5 here. I don't exactly know when the stream cut out, so I guess we'll just rewind to Nerdcube placing his special landscape in the bottom left there. On I2, he spent the remainder of his coins and 1 coin version to take both of the landscape upgrades, and now is fully advanced on digging, has 2 ship advances. And that town location is 1 away.
We also saw Zoras passing early for coins, right? And Nomads finally made their town with a stronghold and took a cult town, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah, the cult
Alchemist
town
doesn't get the efficient cult towns.
Right, and I especially like this cult town. This is something I probably over prioritize, but this 8-point cult town came with 5 power across the cult tracks for Deep Finesse. I think that's pretty cool. And just going back to Zora's passing early, you didn't quite get into as much detail as you should have, in my opinion, about how early this was, because he did not take his Witch's action. He ditched his Witch's action. He didn't secure any of the hexes in the southeast for towns, though if he's only aiming for 1 town, he only needs the bridge action. But this is pretty early, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was very weird, actually. What was the threat here, right? Because no one still wants to make a trading post. Engineers still take an action after them, so engineers seems to have stuff to do. Right?
Engineers have built all their trading houses, and they did before Zoras passed. So engineers could have passed, but are engineers threatening the same power actions you are? I guess if you care about the bridge too much, yes. But I'm not sure if Zoras wants that or the coins. If you're only aiming for 1 more town, do you actually need the bridge? Not really.
Yeah, he doesn't really need a bridge. Is he going to be? I don't see 3 towns now that he places all these trading posts. I don't
Yeah,
understand Zara's plan here.
I think it
But
has
I
to be
think
the
that,
bridge, but
yeah, I think as you mentioned it, he's far ahead in points that he's just considering. Okay, this is enough of a lead to actually seal the deal, right? I don't think it is because his scout game is horrible.
yeah,
His scout game is not winning this game.
it's atrocious. He's going to end on like 2 to 6 cult points. And his network probably not beating nomads, maybe not beating alchemists, probably not beating engineers. Maybe I haven't been keeping track of engineers too well, but they've placed all but 4 dwellings, a stronghold, and a temple. So I'm not sure Zorus is getting network points here, skipping the witch's ride.
Yeah, there might be no. I would say, oh, maybe they get C6 and they start a double splitting in 8 and then they place a temple in B6 sanctuary. Like wishful thinking, right? It's not going to happen. People are going to block that easily.
I do have a
So
potential thought for Zorus though, and that's advancing digging.
I thought that might happen actually,
Because if
right?
he
Like
takes coins action in advancing digging, he still has a lot of dwellings to place. Maybe fire 2, 3 towns still happens.
I would say still 1 town, right? He doesn't have enough to advance the game. Making temple and sanctuary and then trading posts, that's way too much in terms of coins.
Right, but
I
what if you
see.
what if you ditch the sanctuary? Oh, then you
Right.
don't get fire too. Yeah.
Right. He doesn't need, right. If he goes for a single town, he could go for a temple for fire two, right, and just try to beat structures. But
Mm-hmm.
I like the advancing thing, right? Because then he can actually place all those dwellings and still get to 50 to 16 structures with the landscape.
Right. He doesn't have Earth One though, so the dwelling round isn't quite as explosive.
Yeah, it's all about a very good town right now for the Royals, right? A very
Mm-hmm.
good high scoring town and getting those 12 points from advancing digging.
Yeah, I think the cult town, the
Yes,
8 point
it's
town, is still
shipping.
good for him, and he needs to
Yeah,
afford shipping. Yeah, okay, maybe
and
there are
it's
too many things for Zorus to afford here.
yeah. There's one saving grace is that if he's just one dwelling, oh no, he actually needs two shipping to connect the two trading posts. Yeah, never mind. He needs two shipping.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't see it. I
he
mean, he
can't
has
advance
enough of a
dig.
lead. Yeah, he has enough of a lead, but I don't see how he pulls a lot more out of this game.
Right. It feels like a 130, high 130s game to me at this point, but that's without doing any actual math. I don't know if you might know this more than me. Is math allowed on the Premier League streams?
I don't know actually. I saw that in F2O, you guys didn't do.
Yeah.
Let me check chat if someone knows.
Yeah, I'm not
But I
looking at
didn't
chat.
intend to.
Apologies, but
Yeah. Math is explicitly allowed here. That's what chat
oh,
says. So I will blame the chat afterwards.
okay, great. So we see Zorus at 86. He's gonna pass for 4 more for sure. That's 90, and I don't know, 6 track points, 15 town points roughly. So 110 plus end game scoring conditions. Yeah, it feels to me.
Yeah, doesn't seem very good. And DF passes for the dwellings, right? That I think that's funny actually. Aegis didn't have any more training posts to build. Why hasn't Aegis passed for that?
Yeah, I mean, prioritizing that for the pass Okay, yeah, that's a good space to do it.
Doesn't have very good ISPs either, right?
I mean,
Really
there
bad.
are some places with fiber here.
I'm gonna warn chat. We should be back shortly.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have to rewind because Indies also passes for the spade as they should, right? They want more spades to just place all those values with their F1.
Right. Yeah, Alex take D1. Reducing distance. Distance. Yeah, nomads can get 9 distance still. Witches have a 6 distance ready to go. Engineers are capped at like 6 distance also.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that witches want the sanctuary because you're doing that sanctuary for like 3 points for sharing points with engineers. It's not efficient.
I don't know if engineers build the stronghold at all, though. They're on 5 workers.
They don't. At that amount of workers, they shouldn't.
Yeah, so Zorus can still sanctuary for 6. Anywhere.
Actually, there might be a third town for engineers here, right? If they single spade B3, double spade A2 with the power action, and bridge, they can get
They're not beating Alchemist to A2.
oh, right. Depends.
Yeah.
Alchemy, that's why Eric is in the tank, right? Eric is thinking, do I need to secure A2 by placing something in B2 now? Or can I build a trading post in D1?
Yeah. I mean, I think he has to go greedy because he's still so bad on points. I mean, it's a. We're
sorry,
back.
we are back. I don't know how long we have been back.
All right. Well, it's good. We were talking on topic there. Nerdcube has taken C1 and D1 this round. D1 is potentially where Nomads were thinking of going, but it won't affect the big building scoring condition at the end here. Engineers passed. They took the spade tile. That'll help them pump out the remainder of their dwellings, spend most of their workers doing that we are expecting. We have done some math on witches versus engineers for that 6 points of Stronghold Sanctuary distance, and we have found that witches can build a sanctuary and get 3rd place on their own because engineers don't have enough workers, most likely. And Nerdcube has decided that engineers are not enough of a threat to travel B3, A2, A1 for a town. And Nerdcube has taken a town in the southwest, 2 more workers, make all 4 trading posts this round to score them all while he holds the pass tile. Did I miss anything?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure I like this play from Nerdcube because he reduced his worker income by a lot, right?
Yes, certainly.
And what's the plan for his towns here? I was thinking that he would go for 3 towns with Fire 2. I don't think I like this town in the Stronghold. I think it was better to just place a dwelling B2 and maybe pass and then Fire 2 later for the 3 towns, right?
At the same time, this is some like 8-point trading post that he's getting. Maybe it's 5 because it's expensive, but I don't know.
He had no coins, so it was it wasn't. If he paid six
Probably
coins,
not.
make a trading post for 6 points. So
But he gets
whatever.
4 coins back because of the great
Right.
value. So
Yeah. He also had I forgot he was sitting on the TP pass tile, so that was still net positive.
yeah. Zorus opens with coins. I think that's probably the right move, not really needing the bridge. Deep Finesse
Right.
guarantees himself a hex. I think that's plenty reasonable with alchemists very clearly willing to mess with people. I think Nerdcube can just have a couple spare digs lying around, though I can't be completely sure. The priests can be fancy workers. The power can be fancy workers.
Yeah, I think it's all fancy workers by now, right? I actually forgot that Angels had the cold spade, which they placed it on B3, so they are really going for the third town there, which I think is accurate, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be A2. It's certainly easiest with A2, but it can be A3 also.
Agree. It might even be more efficient, which means that they might be able to dig hexes anywhere else. But think about it. Where do they have 2 hexes that are 1 dig away? It's only A8 and G1. Everything else is taken. So
That's
A2
true.
is the double dig that actually gets them 2 hexes to contest the connection, right?
Fair enough.
We could, since this is a breach town, we could actually potentially see they get a worker town and do that stronghold.
Right.
Because that's a point stronghold, right?
Yep. And it forces witches to spend resources on a sanctuary. Though I guess no, it doesn't change witches math. It doesn't change the witches math.
Right, but I think they just do a sanctuary on E7 if it comes to that, right? It might not even be interesting for either to build it. I think that just for engineers, it might be interesting to build a stronghold, especially if witches doesn't.
Yes. But I think the sanctuary is like just too strong for Zorus. Bisago, it does take A2 on a double dig. Nerdcube will need B1 and B2. I think he has the resources for it. He did get the workers action, so it seems very straightforward, I think, for Nerdcube to have enough resources to do this.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Also, it's also good for Bisigo because he's engineers. He wants more leech, right? Please hit B2 and give him more leech.
Yeah.
As engineers, you never decline leech unless it's like 7 for 6 in the final round.
Yeah, it's really hard to make it not worth it. Yeah, and Bisigo's economy has been relatively good, but I think is Fire 2 coming for him?
For Eric
For
or
Bise?
for Bisigo?
For Bise.
Oh, does he need it? Yes, he might actually need it. No, he doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. What he does is grabs A1, bridges, and then struggles on B7.
Okay. Gotcha.
He still loses the expansion scoring, but hey, that stronghold is 9 points. I'm not complaining
9 points. It's making sure you get 3 towns. Like, the towns can be plenty of points here. Bisigo is doing okay on the cults. It's kind of mediocre. It looks like 10 points. Relatively certain it's between 6 and 12 points for him. On the cults at the end here. How's our normal network scoring looking?
Yeah.
Is everyone going to be...
Yeah, everyone's going to be at 16 structures, right?
Yeah, so this is just 9999 for network?
Yeah, I think so. No, it's... Isn't it 12, 12, 12? No, actually, yeah, by 4 it's 9999.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's not something
it's very rare
to
see a game like that. Yeah, especially in lakes, right? Because it's so easy to get cut off.
Lakes and color neighbors, engineers and witches. I mean, Zorus getting to 16 structures is like a big accomplishment. Like, he definitely needed the stronghold round 1 to do it, but
Deep finesse goes to. I didn't see him spading I5. He actually spaded I5, right, with one of his calls. I thought that maybe he wants to make sure that Zars does not get 3 towns anyway. I don't think it was ever happening, but now it's his turn.
How many structures is Deep Finesse ending on? Does he have a chance at 17?
So that's the thing. He needs to make sure he gets those dwellings down, right? He does. If he gets to 3 shipping, he does get I7 as well. With a single dig, he could get maybe G1, H1 because Eric doesn't have.
He has enough
any
workers. Deep Finesse has enough workers. He just needs a dig and the hexes. So if
Right.
Deep Finesse
He has
takes,
power.
yeah, if he single spades G1, builds G1, H1, builds I5, builds C8, he has enough stuff to get 17 structures.
Right. Oh, you think he might get to 17? That's spicy. I don't see.
Here it
because
comes.
Yeah.
We'll see if NerdCube messes with H1.
Yeah, he might have to take a high value town in terms of resources to actually get all that.
I mean, I think NerdCube has to at least double dig H1. It needs to be like singles not enough here.
Yeah. Does he have enough resources though? Because those are the resources that should go to his town, right? Those are dwellings that he's not placing down.
He can fire 2, and fire 2 is also a big swing in terms of cult points between him and Deep Finesse.
That's true, but what does he grab? Yeah, maybe fire 2 is the accurate play here. I think you have a point.
I think if I'm Alchemist, I'm at least double digging H1 to black and considering building on it.
What did he do? Did he go for fire 2?
There's 3 copies of it.
2.
Does he really want the towns that much quicker within 2 actions? He's taking fire 2. I think this is wrong to let Deep Finesse have H1.
Might be wrong, but is there? No, I don't think that Eric can actually place all of his stuff, right? Well, he closes off the calls, right? No chances for Deep Finesse to fire.
And he does 2 worker conversions here with raw power before and after the town.
Yeah, another interesting thing that we noticed is since Engines took the worker town, Eric probably wanted that worker town, right? Because he was doing really poor.
Absolutely. Getting those 4 trading posts last round does take a toll. NerdCube does have 2 fancy workers. He could take a fancy worker town.
Right. Not the greatest, but it works.
It does work, yeah. And I think if NerdCube ends up spending most of these coins as coins and letting his power become workers, then getting up to 4 trading posts last round becomes slightly more reasonable.
The thing here, though, is Zora's advanced digging, and he's just placing his stuff. I think Zora should have blocked I5. Zora should not let I5 be yellow. If you advance dig as witches and you have plenty of workers, there's no reason to let Deep Finesse have those hexes.
Oh, he did advance dig. Yeah, I agree. You can't let Deep Finesse have I5, but you can also block off C8. But how is Zoras taking a ship town by necessity here? Or a priest town?
I think a priest town is fine, right? Okay. He has 6 coins to place the dwellings. He just advances shipping with the 4 coins left.
Okay. He needs 2 ships.
Unless he wants to make a sanctuary. It's the sanctuary. I mean, I don't think the sanctuary is a realistic plan, but that's so good for engineers.
It's an 8-point sanctuary because you get to take fire too.
Right, but the issue with the sanctuary is now you don't have workers to place your dwellings and contest connection.
Oh, right. If you have Deep Finesse getting to 17 anyway, then you're losing 6 and giving 2 opponents 3. Yeah, that's not great either.
Yeah, Zars is out of good options now.
Yeah, I'm not sure advancing digging was right. He just needed the ship. The real problem is that he still needed the ship advances. If he didn't need the ship advances, then advanced dig could have had some potential here, I think.
Oh, you're right. Actually, he needs to do 2 ship advances,
Right.
right? I was counting only one, so he needs either the ship advance or the coin town.
Yeah.
Yeah, the priest is not enough.
All right. Yeah, and I think Zorus is probably just looking at track scoring for the rest of this game.
So engineer probably does that stronghold and places the last dwelling with the spade, right? Not much else to do here.
He has 2 dwellings. No, he only. Yeah, he's How many structures is he ending with?
Actually, what does he get here? Because he has the exact value for the stronghold, right? Converting the priest, and then one worker and one coin. He's one. He can't pick the priest town because then he doesn't have one coin. So he picks a power town. That's so sad.
Yeah. And not even all 8 of the power. It's just going to be 7 power because of where his power wolves are. That's what I consider unfortunate.
Indeed. Yeah. How do you feel about Zoras now? You were betting on him, but
Look, I acknowledged it was a hot take, right? I acknowledged it was a hot take. I thought the parts were there. It didn't all come together.
Hashtag mistakes were made.
Yeah.
That's some of it. But yeah, expansion scoring, this is the typical case, right? He didn't prioritize it. He's going to get screwed. Right? Yeah. Sorry for the word, but if you don't prioritize expansion scoring, it's really hard to win these kind of games. Deep Finesse, now he still looks even better, right? He's going to win expansion scoring when he makes He's going to get his dwellings down and win a regular connection.
Good call.
How does Deep Finesse? Good calls. How does he lose this game?
I don't think he does. He's passing for 12, 9, or like 11 at worst. So he's passing for 11. Let's give him 14 on the cults. 25 plus 36 is 61. So he's at 140 basically without spending his current resources. Yeah, that feels like it's beating everyone else.
He still needs to make a sanctuary. Yeah. Sorry, he still needs to make a sanctuary, right? So those resources are basically committed already, and place one dwelling. So that's all of his resources. He gets another 4, and maybe he makes a swing in the tracks with the favor. Mm-hmm. He has no good favors to pick, only the 3 steps ones.
Right. I still think that's enough.
Yeah, that's enough. DF got this, right? Again, expansion scoring, taking key hexes. This guy, yeah. Do you think it's time to implement anti-doping in Terra Mystica tournaments? Because this guy must be on some juice, man.
Yeah. He really has his priorities in order when he looks at these games. He really gets the picture. I mean, I'm jealous that he seems to be able to. I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the cast. This kind of hex consideration and like the thorough planning and calculations is something I'm only able to achieve after hours of looking at Snellman games. But he seems to just be like doing it seamlessly during live play.
Right. Yeah, I agree. When you have all the time in the world, it's a lot simpler than just doing this. Like, oh, these are the hexes, right? Magically. There are some consideration that Eric, I think Eric on the previous cast was saying, oh, that people just seem to hand him. He has this aura that people hand him the things in the game. But hey, Eric, you just did it as well, right? You gave him H1.
You let him have H1. You decided to go double temple with no big building or ship scoring in game, which means you're like doing so many like counter positional moves in terms of like needing to get great coins somehow this game. You asked too many extra questions, Nerdcube, of your own Alchemist game.
As we mentioned it, no one gives any leech so they have to go for the power town to place their last dwelling and tie connection, right?
Yep. And they do have multiple hex options for that, or not? They have A3 and A8. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
I think it's okay. But other than that, yeah. If you can talk about the first place, because we kind of are really committed on deep finesse, let's talk about the second place. Who's in the second
Okay,
place?
yeah.
I think engineers are doing better than Nerdcube, actually. He has a town to come, but yeah, actually his costs are better, right? And his expansion is better. It's just that Engis has a bunch of points coming, right?
The
He
engineers
has
are scoring 6 on endgame scoring somehow.
6.
Yeah.
I count from the costs. It depends on the
Sorry,
nuance,
I meant just the big building one
Oh, yeah.
that we weren't
6 from
expecting
that.
before.
Right. On the codes, he's doing poorly. Like 8 points, I count unless no one passes him on the Earth.
Right, so like that's
And-
approximately 20 total endgame points.
Yeah, but he also has 13 on the pass. And plus
Okay.
4 from the dwelling he places. Right?
So
So
37.
that's 30. No, sorry. 20? You mentioned 20 from the endgame, right? Plus 13 from the passing.
Yep.
So
33
plus 4
Yeah, 37.
from the
Plus
Yeah,
his
37.
97 is 134. And then Zorus.
No, that's 144. 37, that's 144.
37
Right?
plus
No,
97?
134, sorry, 134. Okay, 134, so yeah. What about Eric? What are we looking at here? He took the 11 point key.
Yeah, that makes sense. He wants to get one more dwelling down, and can definitely do that with fancy workers. I don't see any cult
Right.
considerations for him. Deep Finesse says his resources
Interesting.
committed, so there's no reason for Deep Finesse to overpass Nerdcube on water, which means Nerdcube's getting 24 cult points.
No. Deep Finesse is going to make a sanctuary for water. Why not?
Oh. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
So that probably puts
So-
Deep Finesse close to 150, right? Like 147, 150, somewhere in there. Then, okay, so Nerdcube, instead of getting 24, will get 20 cult points, the amount we promised. Go us. Okay, so the dwelling is going to be 4 points. He's going to pass for none. He's going to get 20 plus 12 plus 9 is 41. So he's 45 plus resource points, which is, let's say, 4. It's between 3 and 5, I think. So he's currently looking at mid 130s, right with Bisagawa.
He's considering whether he takes this power, and it might be relevant, right? Because when he digs once, he gets another worker with this power. He could have 2 workers from power, and this could let him tie on water or maybe place another structure. Possibly, no, he can't place another structure. He can place another trading post, but not the last dwelling.
Right. I don't see him winning water. I mean, it seems like too much to be worth it.
Yeah, I don't think he should take this power. I don't see anything good coming out of it because a trading post for 3 points, you are spending almost the same resources. Actually, yeah.
Well, you're losing
You're losing
1.5
one-
points to take a worker.
Right.
And if you're going to spend 1.5 points and another 1 point for the leach to get the worker,
Right.
Are you really going to make up those 2.5 points?
No, you're not.
Yeah. With a priest? No. Because that's the trade-off, right? Like, you avoid spending a fancy worker and you spend 2.5 points to get a normal worker.
But even I wouldn't spend the fancy worker, but I was considering if you turned those into a trading post, and the trading post also does not pay off.
Right.
because the 3 VP you get from the 3D pulls, you can just convert those coins into points.
Yeah, the 5 resources is 2.5 points for alchemists. So.
Yeah. So Deepness finally builds his sanctuary, right? It should
this
be
has
going
to be
for water.
Water 2. No reason to take water 3, I think.
What's the difference at this point, right? You think that's
So
only because
if
Earth,
Nerdcube commits his resources too quick, you get to put that cult bump on Earth. Take points from Bisei.
right? Yeah, you do have a point there. But
And alternatively, you could cult bump air to get 3 power. If somehow, I don't think the power is going to matter here, but maybe 3 power is better than 2 for some reason. It is water 3 though.
Because honestly, the point is he can't stall his actions, right? He only has one action to place dwelling, and then the bump. But so Eric could all stall and decide whether he ties on or not. And Eric probably should tie with the priest because it's a 4-point swing.
Sure. But isn't Nerdcube more worried about the swing versus Bisei for second place?
Maybe. It's still the same point swing, right? If you consider that you gain 2 points and Bisei could lose 1. It's actually a bit there to tie with yourself. So
Bisei's last dwelling goes on A3.
Right, giving Eric a little leash. And Eric has to be wondering, if I just took a resource town, was there possibly the last dwelling there with some power? Maybe.
I think he probably calculated that during one of the longer thinks he had this round.
Yeah, it was really close in terms of power for Alchemist to get the last dwelling there.
This has been a really cool game to watch. This board is so full. My goodness.
Interestingly, we haven't discussed his orders in a bit. He still hasn't made his town, right?
I know.
He's gonna start down.
I mean, he needs 3 workers for 2 digs and building a dwelling, though. Not sure. Oh no, then like H6 becomes his last dwelling. I think he needs a. Oh no, he needs a ship town. Is he? I'm not exactly sure what Zorus is doing anymore. Like, he doesn't have a single dig hex for finishing this town.
He has to double dig. Has to be either F7 or F9, right?
Or D8. Yeah.
Or D8, yes.
And then he also wants to dig H6 and build there, but that looks like he doesn't have enough resources for it.
Yeah, people were commenting on the chat that now he can build his sanctuary. But the issue is that if he builds his sanctuary, he doesn't have enough resources to place the dwellings, and that's a huge point swing. Just placing that dwelling in time with everyone else, right? Because everyone's gonna be 15 structures. Sorry, 16 with the landscape.
Yeah.
So Zorus is really considering that leech because Alchemist built on C6 and he's leeching at B6.
I think he has to take it.
Worth it. No, that's the thing. The leech is not worth it. He's not actually going to use that. He can only place a single dwelling now. Was that another worker though? Could that be another worker?
Well, that's what I was thinking is another worker, but actually that might not be worth it either.
Yeah, because he won't have enough coins, right?
Right. Well, no, I think he needs 2 workers here. That's the actual thing that he needs. And that's...
Oh, man.
That's too many leech away.
Yeah, it might not be worth it. Actually, he did decline. Yeah. He doesn't get to place his final dwelling, I think. There are no eligible access.
There's no free greens.
That's terrible. Yeah, then maybe the sanctuary is the better play here, as chat was discussing, because if you're not gonna tie it anyway, might as well take those points from Anges and get them for yourself.
Right.
Is there a code? Actually, they can steal air from nomads, right? Because of the landscape, and that's a valid swing.
Ooh.
That's a valid swing. Maybe they should have taken those to keep the priest Because the priest might have been more valuable
I mean,
elsewhere.
I think you can't be competing with deep finesse for the win here. We've talked a few times.
Yeah,
I think it's
but
got to just be like water 2. Oh, Zorus is building the town with a dwelling.
then he's gonna what, connect? That doesn't get him much. It gets him nothing actually.
It gets him nothing. He's under a bit of time pressure. It's been a stressful cast. I wouldn't be surprised if this is just like the evening, like after a long day, missing some exactness. Decides to take a priest town.
He just goes for the high value. He kind of concedes that okay, I'm not scoring anything in the end game.
Right. Oh, that's really too bad. Yeah, he has just enough resources for 2 ships, and he has the spare cult step. He'll be able to get 2 points on fire with that cult step.
Right, so the Sanctuary might have been the better play, right? Because then he could Sanctuary for Air 3.
Yeah.
Maybe steal that for 4 points, and it's still a lot of power that he can convert
That's
into
power.
something.
Yeah,
that's what people usually forget, that it's power that you get with a Radiance Bonder.
Right. Yeah,
the
I think
thing
Take the
is-
Leech and Sanctuary would have been something I didn't take a close enough look at, because 5 power on the air track, 2 power from the Leech gets him to 12 power, or sorry, yeah, gets him 12 power from that sequence with the 5 power in his bowl too, and that's enough for 2 workers. That's the magic number.
Yeah.
So
interestingly here,
very tight line.
right? It is actually Deepfin sent his priest to Earth to tie with BC, because if the power he can become a worker that he can place at the I5. That's just so greedy, because that means he's just hoping that Zorus doesn't dig that away, right? Zorus should definitely be digging this away.
Yeah, Zorus already did his 2 moves though.
Oh, sorry. Actually, I miscounted, because Deep Finesse already had placed it at H1, and Deep Finesse is not going for the.
You just went C8.
Instructors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Very complex endgame here. Zorus ending with a nice pile of 126 points, but is going to lose out on the network, which is now 12, 12, 12, 0. He's losing out on the big building connection. That's another 0. His cults are 6. So
Yeah, and 132, right? So BC is a bit ahead of him.
I think everyone's ahead of him.
Yeah, we calculated BC going to be at what, 134, but now he probably gets another 6 from the expansion, another 3.
But down 1 from Deep Finesse's cult.
Right, from the Earth Cult step. And Eric, we didn't look at it. We saw that he had something like 30 something points coming from the endgame.
41, I think we said.
41, right, because of the expansion. He got 12 and 12. Right. So, yeah, overall, a very good game by everyone, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I think this auction was relatively fair, but I do think witches were taken a bit early.
Right, I agree. As we expected, Deep Finesse did get the first place. Eric is very close, actually, because of those coins into points that we discussed.
Yeah.
But yeah, sadly, witches tried a game with no expansion, but then you have to get a third town. If you only get 2 towns and you don't get end game for expansion scoring, and yeah, then you're hopeless, right?
Right. Okay, as we see on the screen here, Captain Printer takes another game in the Premier League just to cap off an excellent season. Very solid Nomads game, Nerdcube coming in second, and then Engineers and Witches having A somewhat classic fight. Somehow getting a lot of structures down, but probably making too many sacrifices along the way. Bisago avoids the shutout, so that's probably a nice little redemption for him this season.
Yeah, the players are discussing the water code, that there was maybe some room for Eric to pass Deep Finesse on the water code, and that would be game, right? That would swing them.
Possibly, yeah. Deep Finesse saying in chat that he thinks alchemists were dead and just possibly wasn't looking to get in the way there.
We can ask him right now, as we have the winner with us.
Hey there.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Lumin. Hey, Logus. How's it going?
We're doing good. Congrats on another fine win here.
Thanks. Ooh, that was a crazy dogfight.
What did you think about potential dogfights in the end when you selected nomads for a relatively low price in this auction?
Yeah, I kind of like witches at that point already, and I think Zoras found a great opening. I'm not quite sure like if it was the lack of Legion of the game that killed him, but it seemed like witches was on a very strong track round 1 and round 2. I was going to take like shipping as witches, and I just feel like in lakes there's this pressure to take all your hexes as early as possible, which is also why I like single dug round 1. And my plan as witches was going to take 10 ship and take priest and like do 2 ship and ship out to as many green hexes as possible. But I like Zoras' flying a lot too.
Yeah, Logus had mentioned the 2 ship strat in round 1 for witches, but yeah, we also think that Zoras ended up on a pretty good opening line.
Yeah. I was playing
as we discussed
ship to the upper right with witches, and maybe just like plop a stronghold down there around 2. Like pay an expensive trading post and store a stronghold there. I'm not sure how good it is, but it would have guaranteed enough points with the stronghold sanctuary in this sense, I think.
Yeah.
So it might have worked.
Yeah, Logus, you had a question?
I was about to mention that around 2 they should be placing the lane there, right? But also we noted that witches always had this problem during the game, which was the lack of neighbors, right? There were no good places, especially when you cut off alchemists from going to the south very early on, right, with your single spade, which means that they never get a neighbor in that black. That killed the witches town in the east.
Yeah. I was like with the line that Zoras opened on, I thought he was doing very well, and I was very hesitant to dig the red round 1. But like I almost bridged to the middle. There was like a red in the middle. I almost bridged there to dig that instead of digging the red that gave witches like the neighbor and that town, that easy town there. Yeah.
All right. So I guess my next question is about like the mid game. You ended up taking like Earth 1 with your temple in round 4. I assume the plan was to get Water 1, but Earth 1, you felt fine with it?
Yeah, no, I think the Earth 1 was actually more points. Was it? 1 would have been 12. Earth 1 was, I think it was about the same. Earth 1 is probably also 12 at that point. So yeah, it was. I was just hoping that witches did not have enough money to take Earth 1. So that like as long as I got 1, that was good enough.
Sure. Yeah, I think we calculated that we expected you to have 5 trading posts off of Water 1, so it's like a 2-point difference or a 3-point difference or something like that, but nothing major.
One question I have to you is that probably everyone is asking themselves, how can I play like different? What do you think that you do differently from other players, right? That led you to so many victories.
Well, I just played a ton recently, so I guess that, like maybe too much, but it's just what I spent a lot of time on. So yeah, I'm like kind of embarrassed to admit it, like how much I've been playing, but
That like you're talking to a couple guys who have put in their hours on Snellman, so you know we get how it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're both envious of your ability to, I guess, see deep into a game state and really identify who you need to be slightly aggressive to more than anyone else. So I guess to paraphrase Logus's question in a different way, do you find yourself watching casts and videos and thinking, no, I would think about this thing more, and is that thing the same?
It feels kind of different, like watching from the side as opposed to playing a game. It definitely feels like when I'm playing, there's an extra level of concentration. So like I guess it's like the competitive spirit kind of.
Yeah, the adrenaline's flowing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, and I think that makes a pretty big difference. Like I'm watching cast and I'm like, oh, yes, this makes sense. Yes, that makes sense. And I don't find myself disagreeing with a lot. I'm just like, yeah, like this is a very solid plan. But then I feel like when I'm playing, I try to pay extra attention to what my opponents are doing and whether like they need this leech, for example, or whether they're going after a hex I'm going after, that sort of thing. And like just there's a couple of extra layers and extra brain power there.
Sure. No, I think that's a totally valid answer. It's really cool to hear, like, you're mentally definitely doing a sport there. Yeah, that wraps it up for the questions I had. Logus, do you have anything else to ask our champion here?
Yeah. This season we did not have expansion factions. Would you like to play more with expansion factions? Maybe add that to the format?
I would.
That's been discussed with Zoras.
I would love to, but I have very few games with them at the moment. So I think Logus a couple of days ago we played a game where I was like, I don't know what doing with Getty or something, but yeah, but they're a ton of fun. I love them.
I know I don't want to
Yeah.
mess with a Deep Finesse Dragon Lord game. That's something I'd never want to face.
Yeah, we were discussing this early that your style it seems to be to heavily prioritize key hexes very early on. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. I think so. Yeah.
So
and,
yeah,
like,
Dragon Lords would be hell.
tension. There's tension between me and an opponent, and it seems like we're both gunning for it.
Yeah, right. That wraps up my questions as well.
All right, cool. So I guess thanks everyone for watching. We appreciate you hanging out with us for this stream today. And have a great rest of your time here. Thanks for hanging out. Congrats again to the champion of the season and the game itself, Deep Finesse.
Thanks, Lumin. Thanks, Logus.
All right.